Hello everyone, it's JD here and welcome to my outdoor story time. It is a windy day and it also means that there's going to be a lot more noise than normal, so hopefully that doesn't interfere with the recording. Anyway, today's story that I want to tell you guys is actually something that I really wanted to put on here at the very start of my channel, but I think now is a good time than any to basically just go ahead and tell you guys about how I got into cars and how I was influenced basically to choose my Nissan Skyline R34. So let's get into it. There are three key points in this timeline that I want to bring to attention. When I was little to when I was getting into secondary school, and then there is current, which is around the time that I was getting my license and getting my first car. When I was born, my parents actually were the first people to influence me with cars. I used to get model cars for my birthday or as little gifts, whether it's Hot Wheels, Matchbox, or even just a model car by the size of my hand and my palm currently. It was probably about that big. I had model Lamborghinis, Ferraris, even a model of the Batmobile, and even a car which I can't name it. I still have the model to this day, but it looks kind of like just like a 80s or 70s Chevy. I don't know. Anyway, those cars from a very young age were the ones that really got me interested because of their cool looks, the fact that the models had doors and a hood that could open, and just having a car with that much realism just really got me interested in automotive. I wasn't as passionate about cars back then than I am now. Back then I had a knowledge of cars to an extent, not how they work, but just how they look and how they feel and the differences per se. But as I grew and as I got older, I started to basically find the differences between cars, whether it's engine sizes and brands, different eras of cars and stuff, but it was never as crystal clear as it was when I started to get my license. Now, before I skip the timeline completely and go straight to current, I just got one more thing before I do that, and that is when I was getting into gaming. When I was getting into grade 1, transitioning from prep, my dad brought home a PlayStation 2 and a copy of World Rally Championship Extreme 2, which was a game which was actually the first game that I had, so I played it quite more than everything else. But what really blew me away with it was the realism of having real life cars but just fitted out for rally, whether it was a Ford Fiesta or Ford Focus, a Peugeot, or even a Citroen, or even a Subaru WRX Blob-eye. It was just super interesting to see cars racing and being able to control it for myself and have it in an environment that was close to as real as I would get for my age. I loved ragdolling the cars right off cliffs. I loved racing them right into rocks and just throwing the cars right out of the boundaries of the game just so that it could reset it so I could do it again. Having those sorts of physics in the game really just made it so much better for me. And it's one of the reasons why I was super interested in cars in the first place. Now that I've got all of the younger stuff out of the way, let's jump right to the current moment, around 5 years between now and my past. So in high school we had a talk about getting our learner's permit. I wasn't too keen on it at the time because I was kind of half afraid of cars, mainly for the sake of got very motion sick as a passenger, and so I thought that that would be the case when I start driving, that I wouldn't be able to control the car, or I might crash, or I might risk my own life. So there were a lot of fears going through my mind at the time, but when I finally got my hands on the wheel and sitting in the driver's seat for the first time, my fears just seemed to go away, and it was mainly because I had the control over the vehicle and that I wasn't afraid because I knew and I could anticipate basically what would happen. When I got my learners and I honed my skills and got my hours up, it became time for me to choose a car. And this is where things get interesting. From seeing WRXs when I was younger, to playing as a Chevy Cobalt in Midnight Club, or even to discovering just the racing, like Evos and all that, and even rally from the rally games I played when I was younger. It really influenced my taste in cars all the way up to choosing my first car. When it came to choose, I was super fussy. My dad and my mum, they were both like, you should just get something fuel efficient, economical, that's not going to break down, something that'll last you a long time. And thinking about the long run, it should have been something that I did for a first car, and I kind of regret it to this day. But at the same time as I'm regretting it, I'm also loving it too, because I didn't expect what would come next from getting my first car. Now, the connection between getting my Skyline and choosing my Skyline actually was around a holiday, probably before the end of high school. Back in year 12, during a holiday, I was spending time with my friends Jordan, Jack, and Tom. We were at Tom's place, and Jack brought his brother's car, who he inherited, which was probably a 94 or 95 model Nissan Skyline R33 GTS. It was an automatic. It was probably the 4-stud version of it, but it was a really nice, like, red Skyline. It was also one of the most modified cars that I have ever seen, just for the sake that it had a really nice exhaust. It sounded amazing, and it just looked so identical to the cars that I played in racing games that it made it look like this bizarre thing that I've never seen before in real life. Seeing a Skyline in person just really opened up my perspective on what cars could be. Cars didn't have to be something to get you from A to B. It could be something that you could enjoy going on a cruisy drive. You didn't have to spend too much money on it, and you could just enjoy it for what it is, a machine with all of the control at your disposal. After I saw the Skyline R33 for the first time, my friend actually told me, like, hey, you should get an R34 Skyline, so that way we can be the whole generation, because he wanted to convince someone to get an R32 and an R31. So being the young and excitable kid that I was, I started doing my research, and I went through all of these car videos trying to look up whether it was worth buying, basically with the hope to convince my parents to let me buy one, because I didn't have the money at the time. I was looking for any video that gave me a good insight of what the Skyline entails, what the issues are, what the pros are, and I stumbled upon a video which would then fuel my passion even more. And it was a video by one of my friends, David, who is from Canada, and he is a part of a group called Locals, who actually inspired me to get into modifying my car as well. Now, I didn't know much about Locals at the time, but I did stumble upon his video about his R34 Sedan and about his love and hate relationship with it. I watched a fair bit of the video trying to discover all of the good spots and all the bad spots to see whether I should own one myself. And then I started looking at the market, and I also started watching more of their videos at the same time and watching the progress with that car. When I saw that it was sort of in the price range I was looking for, being about 8 to 10 grand for a low kilometers one, I ended up looking at a dealership which gave me the best perspective of it, and I was able to see one in person that I could actually buy. So then, about a year after I saw that video, a year after I discovered Locals and started following their journey through Canada, I ended up picking up my very first 98 Skyline R34. Now that you guys know how I got into it, I will go into the next episode and show you guys how I discovered Locals and how they basically changed my perspective on the car scene. But that is for another video, and I'm sorry, but that is all we have time for. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you liked it, please leave a like, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.